Late at night, the towering glass building stood silent, its offices dark except for the gentle hum of exit signs and the occasional flicker of hallway lights. Inside, Maria moved quietly through the corridors, pushing her cleaning cart along polished marble floors. In her faded uniform and worn-out shoes, she blended into the background, a presence most would never notice. At 53, life had taught her to keep her head down, do the work, and disappear before the sun rose. But this night, something was different. Her shift was nearly over when she slipped into the break room. The hum of the vending machine was the only sound. She sat at the corner table and opened her lunchbox, not to eat, but to retrieve a bundle of old pencils and a tattered sketchpad. Her hands, roughened by years of labor, held the pencil with surprising delicacy. Slowly, lines began to appear on the paper, graceful, intentional, alive. She sketched the face of a little girl, no more than 6, eyes wide with joy, dimples caught mid-laughter. Each stroke was gentle, careful, like a mother brushing back her child's hair. Though the world never saw her, here, in this quiet room, Maria existed fully. Her art, raw, honest, and breathtaking, was a secret she carried like a fragile ember, tucked away in long nights and silent spaces. To anyone else, she was a janitor. But on that paper, she was something more, an artist lost in the beauty she never shared. The morning sun hadn't yet climbed above the skyline when Ethan Reynolds, the young and sharp-suited CEO of the company, walked into the building. Restless from a night of anxious thinking and looming deadlines, he had arrived hours before anyone else. Wanting a moment of quiet, he made his way to the break room in search of coffee. As he pushed the door open, something on the table caught his eye, a piece of paper left behind, slightly curled at the corners. He stepped closer. It wasn't just a drawing, it was art. A pencil portrait of a child, glowing with life and innocence. Ethan's heart caught in his throat as he stared at the familiar face. It was his daughter, her smile, her curls, even the little birthmark near her eye. But how? Who would even have access to such a personal image? No employee had ever seen her in person. Curiosity turned into urgency. He asked around, showing the sketch to a few early arriving staff, but no one had a clue. Driven by something deeper than curiosity, Ethan called up last night's security footage. He fast-forwarded through hours of stillness until something shifted on screen. There she was. Maria, the janitor, sitting alone under dim lights, her head bowed over the sketchpad, completely absorbed. No references. No photos. Just memory and soul. Ethan leaned back, stunned. The quiet woman who swept the halls at night, had drawn his daughter from pure observation, and pure talent. Later that afternoon, Maria was called to the CEO's office, a place she'd only seen from a distance while wiping its glass doors. Her hands trembled slightly as she knocked and stepped inside. She clutched her cleaning cloth, unsure of why she was there. Ethan stood behind his desk, the sketch carefully laid out in front of him. "Did you draw this?" he asked gently, his voice more curious than accusing. Maria's eyes widened. She hesitated, then nodded slowly. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to leave it behind." Ethan shook his head, stepping around the desk. "Don't apologize. It's extraordinary." Maria looked down, flustered. "It's just a hobby. Something I do to feel human." He gestured for her to sit, something she clearly hadn't expected. She remained standing. "How did you draw my daughter so perfectly?" he asked, still trying to wrap his mind around it. "I saw her once. She came here during a school holiday. You were walking with her in the lobby." She looked happy, Maria said softly, eyes distant with the memory. "I remembered her smile." Then, almost apologetically, she added, "I used to study fine arts before life changed." Ethan listened quietly as she shared her story, how she once dreamed of being an illustrator, how her husband died young, and how she gave up everything to raise 2 children alone. Cleaning offices paid the bills. Drawing was something she kept for herself. In that moment, Ethan saw her, not as a janitor, but as a woman who had hidden brilliance behind silence and sacrifice. A week later, Maria received a letter at the front desk with a gold-embossed seal from the CEO's office. Nervously, she opened it. It wasn't a warning, or a schedule change, it was an invitation. Ethan had asked her to visit the company's design department for a collaboration meeting. Still unsure, she arrived at the bright, modern floor where creatives brainstormed ad campaigns and visuals. Young designers in sneakers and headphones glanced up curiously as Maria entered in her work uniform. She felt out of place, like an intruder in a world she once belonged to but had long forgotten. Ethan greeted her personally and introduced her to the team. This, he said, holding up her sketch of his daughter, was done by Maria. She's not here to clean today, she's here to inspire. A few designers raised their eyebrows, unconvinced. But Ethan gave Maria a blank canvas and a simple prompt, draw how hope feels. At first, her hands trembled. But then she sat down, opened her sketchpad, and let her pencil speak. Within minutes, delicate images began to form, a little boy reaching toward a star, a single flower blooming from cracked earth, a pair of hands lifting another from the shadows. The room fell silent. No one expected it. The raw emotion, the gentle detail, the story told without a word, it was breathtaking. The skepticism vanished. Even the youngest designers leaned in, asking questions, taking notes. Maria, the janitor, had just become the heart of the room. 6 months later, the company's grand annual gala filled the city's largest hotel ballroom. Executives, clients, and partners gathered under dazzling chandeliers, sipping champagne and celebrating another successful year. But this time, something was different. As Ethan stepped onto the stage to deliver his keynote speech, a hush fell over the room. He began by showcasing the company's latest campaign, one that had gone viral, touched hearts, and even earned awards. On the giant screen behind him, slides appeared, emotional artwork, sketches that spoke louder than words, illustrations that had breathed soul into their brand. These images, Ethan said, didn't come from a marketing agency, or a seasoned designer. They came from someone we nearly overlooked. He paused. Ladies and gentlemen, meet the artist, Maria. Gasps rose from the audience as Maria, dressed in a simple navy blouse and slacks, walked onto the stage. Her eyes shimmered under the lights. She wasn't a speaker. She wasn't used to crowds. But the standing ovation that met her said everything. Ethan handed her the mic, and with a nervous breath, she said softly, "I used to believe dreams had an expiration date, but I was wrong. Sometimes, even when life sweeps you into the background, your gift can still shine through." Tears welled in more than a few eyes. The screen faded to black, replaced by her words etched in white. Sometimes, the ones who clean the floors also have the power to paint the skies. And in that moment, the janitor became more than an employee, she became a symbol of hope.